I like to work the technology in places where others aren't, and develop stories that maybe utilize aspects of technology that aren't being using. I like to go for subjects that people are not recording or developing right now. So whichever way the river is flowing, I like to be swimming in the other direction. As you go through life, you realize that your experiences have equipped you to do a film, or a story, one that has to be told, and there's no arguing about it, you just have to do it somehow. And the story that needed to be told was the story of the Sëdléni and the effects of a disastrous relocation upon their culture. The move and the relocation of the people that preceded it 15 years earlier, that took people from a caribou hunting community on the edge of the Barrens, where they were perfectly happy, into the seaport military town of Churchill, was a disaster. It was the worst relocation in Canada. There were maybe 400-500 people. Of that number, maybe 150 died as a result of the social disintegration that came about as a result of the relocation. The Grise Fiord sovereignty relocation that took place around the same time, there was nowhere near the social tragedy that took place for the Sëdléni. So trying to figure out why the government had relocated these people led to a degree in biology, so I could understand the biological reports of the day that claimed they were killing too many caribou, because none of it made sense. None of it made sense. When they moved the people, the caribou were at a maximum, as it turned out. You come to look at the caribou crisis as an excuse for a re-engineering of Canada's north. And no one else is going to tell this story. My wife understood the language perfectly, so she was able to show the oral history as it should be fully explored, because the written history was tainted. It was written by store owners and government officials, so it was only part of the story. But the essential part of the story was locked in people's recollections. We tried to make Ho Ni Yeh our story that mixed the two, where each one supported or refuted the other. And we went out and started fresh. Everything that we thought we knew, we put on a shelf. And we went out to collect the interviews from people all across Canada and in the community itself, in 2 languages, in Sëdléni language and also in English. This was now 1989, 1990. It took us a couple of years to do the film, a year to shoot, in which we traveled back to the place where the caribou crossing was, with elders, interviewed elders there, and basically painted the picture of what people's lives were. We also had to paint a picture of what had happened, basically documenting a social disintegration that had taken place in Churchill. And the record was pretty scanty. A few photographs here and there, and a lot of people, like Skip Coolidge in particular, helped us, anthropologists at the time. But the record that they made it impossible for Indian Affairs to just totally forget that this had ever happened. Well, we had no money when we started. We got a little grant from the Manitoba Arts Council. We got a little bit of money from the Sëdléni themselves, which was a wonderful endorsement that what we were doing was a good thing. But the main part of the funding came from ourselves. We had bust visa cards. We had owned a house in Churchill, and we had to sell that house to recover that. And then we had to teach for 2-3 years in the community, which was great. Because what we did was we took the materials that we'd gathered to make the film, all the interviews and all the research, and used that as the foundation of a course that we called it Dene History. But it was basically a course designed to present to kids, the grade 7 to 9 level, about their own history. And that was maybe in some ways the best part, the most lasting part of the filmmaking process, was how we got out of debt. We made Ho Ni Yeh. We got it aired on Vision first, then later on CBC Rough Cuts. and it went to a lot of festivals. We were trying to get the message out with the film, and I think in that we succeeded. But we also found the limitations of social documentary in promoting change, because you can change a climate briefly in people's attitudes in a very broad, general sort of way, but it's soon forgotten. And unless you have people that are willing to push ahead with the less fun work of changing laws or moving lawsuits through courts and achieving the compensation, and especially the land base that made the relocation happen in the first place. The people didn't have the land base that they needed to protect their rights, their language, and their culture. So for real change, I think you need a pretty big group of people, and the film might be just part of it. If you make a film hoping to get an award, you're doomed, because it isn't going to happen. Getting an award is like winning a lottery. You just never know. I learned pretty early on, you go to festivals to enjoy the festival. If you should win an award or something, wow, that's amazing. And it's a bit of a miracle that it ever happened. Ho Ni Yeh won many awards, and one of them was a Gemini Award called the Canada Award, which used to be called the Multiculturalism Award. It was quite a sensation to be down there receiving this award. You actually felt that your work was good, which is a very dangerous way to feel if you're making films, because you need to feel that your work is probably crap and that you have to work extra hard to make it okay or better. And when you lose that edge, then you've lost a lot of your impulse to make actually good work.